Order, please stand for the pledge of the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we do roll call tonight, we're going to swear in our new council person.
Actually, council people.
Council people, yes.
People, yes.
Yeah, we've got 4 to swear in.
Three technically in here.
That's right, he's not here.
Good evening, everybody. This is one of the nice things I get to do. Is when we have an election like we just did, we get to swear in our new council officers, our council people. So I'd like to do that today. I'm going to defer to the 3 of you that are here, Pam Kesnecki and Bill O'Brien and Mark Duffus. Do you want to do this together, or if you want me to do this
together
individually?
That's fine.
Okay, but I will need all of you, have all of you get up and stand up here in front of the podium if you could. Photo op. I think you've all done this before, but we'll do it one more time too. I'm going to need to have everybody raise their right hand. And then I, state your name.
I, Mark O'Brien,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of village council person in and for the village of Wolverine Lake, County of Oakland, and state of Michigan, according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. Get signatures from all 3 of you if I could. If you could sign right there for me, please.
Uh-oh. Pam's going to be in the hot seat.
Call me off.
Yeah, I moved one seat over.
Going to take Malik's spot. Uh-oh.
Mr. O'Brien, if I get you to sign right there. Congratulations. Actually, over here. Do this right there. Hands back together.
Welcome back to 3 council previous members, which were Mark Duff, Bill O'Brien, and Dave Dumont's not here. And welcome back Pam, because she was on council previously. So.
Thank you.
Now we can do roll call.
Duff.
Here.
Giromini.
Here.
Kesnecki.
Here.
McNutt.
Here.
Nedrow.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here. Motion to excuse Devon.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by McNutt to excuse Mr. Dumont, and he did previously say he was going to be out of town today, so any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, election of officers. First one is council president for a 2-year term.
I would nominate you.
I second this.
We have a motion by Duff, second by Kesnecki to nominate me. Any discussion on that? Roll call vote, please.
Giromini.
Yes.
Kesnecki.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Giromini.
Okay, thank you. I'd be happy to serve 2 more years.
Yep, you was me.
You get 2 votes.
Duff.
What'd you say?
2 votes.
I can have 2 votes from now on.
And then we have election of council president pro tem for 2-year term.
I'll nominate Mark.
Okay. Here, second?
Second.
Okay, motion by O'Brien, second by Giromini to nominate Mark Duff as president pro tem. Any discussion on that? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Kesnecki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Okay, congrats, Mark.
Congrats yourself.
I don't know if that's congrats or not.
Congratulations, I think.
Yeah, I think. Additions to business. I don't believe we have any, do we?
None tonight, no, thank you.
Thank you. 'Cause we have enough on the plate as it is. Approval of the agenda, and what we'd like to do is move item 14D to item 11B.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Correspondence. We had a letter from Comcast saying they're going to be raising rates. Would you believe that? And we also had a couple emails, or one email from Mr. Daly regarding this property. And a reply from our village administrator.
Motion to receive?
Receive and file? I hear a second.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremy. To receive and file correspondence. Any discussion? All in favor on that? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, for this, we're at the first call to the public, so if anybody in the audience would like to stand up and address council on agenda items only at this point. If you don't want to address on agenda items, we'll have to wait for the second call.
Specific agenda item, or,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
okay, I want to follow up on a correspondence I made that was looked at the last meeting.
Okay, well, that's fine.
All right.
Please state your name and address if you could, please.
Motion to open?
Motion to open.
Second.
Second by O'Brien. Discussion.
Yeah, my name is
All in
Fred.
favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Ready?
Yep.
My name is Fred Ferendo. I live at 1450 Sunset Drive. I'm also one of the directors for the Nantucket Homeowners Association, and a number of our members are already here as well. The president, Bob Pisha, our secretary, our treasurer, Nancy Tamonica, if you want, and Tim Wallner, who's the vice president. To make a long story short, and I'll try to be as brief as possible, last June they asked me to look into an issue regarding discharge of stormwater on our property from a residence that was adjacent to our beach property. And I talked to a lot of people, including your ordinance manager. We went to the planning commission, and nothing really got done. So, in a way, sort of frustration, I wrote a letter to you folks that outlined all the issues in my October 28th letter to you to be reviewed at your last meeting. And I hadn't heard anything for a couple weeks after the meeting, so I called Mr. Gillum and asked him, what happened at the meeting since I wasn't able to be there. He said, well, the council accepted my correspondence and filed it. And I was a little perplexed at what that meant, and to me it meant that nothing was going to happen. So what we're here to request is that you consider drafting up or having your attorneys draft up an ordinance that would prohibit the type of conduct the owner of that property did. And basically what he did was he hooked up to his sump pump some PVC piping, which was directly routing water onto our property, causing a bit of flooding, and the grass cutter couldn't cut the grass, etc. And I thought it would be a simple issue to resolve, but it didn't turn out to be so. You should know that Commerce Township does have an ordinance now that would prohibit that type of action or conduct. And I spoke to the ordinance manager there, and he said, yeah, we have an ordinance. We would never allow that to happen, in Commerce Township, but you live in Wolverine Village, and our ordinances would not apply to you. I also, at the planning meeting, a lady was there, I forget her name, but she said she was sure that there was a state regulation that would prohibit this.
Or our planning consultant.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, she said that she was sure that there was a state regulation and she would follow up on it, and I'm not sure whether she did or not. We never got a response, so we're really here to request that you, with your power,
develop a general ordinance that would prevent this conduct. I think this type of conduct should be prohibited short of litigation. I don't think litigation is the answer to something like this. It seems like a simple ordinance would prevent this type of conduct. A resident directing water on someone else's property, that certainly doesn't seem right. To me,
Can I ask
would...
our engineer, is that Michigan Building Code, Mike? Because I thought, we discussed this at planning, and I thought that Sally said that it should be a Michigan Building Code against that.
No, it's a state common law, really.
Okay.
And the Oakland County Drain Commission's office certainly has the same requirements. We have the same requirements, but it's in the engineering, design, and construction standards, and so it's for new construction.
Okay.
So we don't really have anything after the fact if somebody does something after the fact. And the administrator and I have gone over this, and we don't believe that the engineering, design, control standards are enforceable in this particular issue.
So we would have to draft an ordinance to have that
Yes.
taken care of then? Okay.
It seemed like it would not, at least to me, not be that difficult since, Commerce Township already has an ordinance like that, and maybe you could just kind of, develop an ordinance similar to that.
I know we've had issues, residential houses, where we've had issues like that in the past. So,
The International Property Maintenance Code, which the village has adopted, doesn't address it directly on point, but there are provisions in there that are similar but not exact.
is that something that would be enforceable, though?
Well, I think it would be more, if council was so inclined, it would definitely be more advisable to get an ordinance that was directly on point.
I think that'd probably be a good idea to go about that then. I think council, I think we pretty much have consensus in council on that.
Yeah, because it sounds like that any one of us could direct water onto our neighbor's property without any recourse, right? That does.
Yeah.
Well, as Mr. Powell had pointed out, it is illegal under, the common law, so there are other options, private options that could be taken by the landowners.
Right.
So-
Right, I think that would require litigation, either a nuisance suit or a damage suit to your property, but it seems like a long process to resolve something, what I think is as simple as this, but maybe not.
The only thing is, if we adopted an ordinance, would they be grandfathered in? No, they wouldn't?
Not if it's a police power ordinance.
Okay.
If it was under the zoning ordinance, it would be a different situation. But under health, safety, and welfare, no, there would be no non-conforming status. So,
Well, I think that's something that we should be able to accomplish.
I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we pretty much have consensus on that, so.
All right.
Do we need to make a motion on that? Or is that something we can just do?
Make a motion to direct the administrator to follow through with drafting up something.
Yeah, to work with the attorney's office, yeah. Yep. Yeah, and a motion would probably be appropriate, yeah.
Okay, a motion to have the attorney, or have the administrator work with the attorney to draft the ordinance in terms of the discharge from one property to a neighbor's property.
A second.
Motion by Duff, second by Kaznecky. Any other discussion?
Now, would that be something that would be ready for January, or, how soon?
Well, we probably have to introduce it, right?
It'll take two readings.
Two
Take two
readings.
readings?
You might want to make it a little, just as a suggestion, if I may, you might want to make it a little bit more general than just the discharge of water, because someone could be standing in their backyard with a hose, squirting your lawn and flooding your backyard. So we wouldn't want that to happen either.
Did you happen to have a copy of Commerce's?
Yeah, I do. Just happen to have it. It's Article 4, Section...
It's always a good place to start, right?
Yeah, Section 1887, items 2 and 3, I put them in italics.
Thank you, Ray.
All right.
Okay.
All right?
Anything else we can help you with?
Nope, thank you very much.
Super,
Unless
thank you.
anyone else would like to speak from
No, we thank you, though.
Motion to close.
Okay, motion to close by Duff.
Did we vote on the motion?
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, we have to vote on the motion.
All right, let's vote on the
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
motion to close.
Motion to close by Duff, second by
Second.
Mr. O'Brien. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're out of closed session, or out of first call of public, I guess. All right, consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Jeremy to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion on that? Roll call vote, please.
McNutt?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Kazaki?
Yes.
All right, and we have board appointments. Let's skip over.
No, you're good. 11A.
The public hearings are way down, that's right. Board appointments, we have a recommendation for council to appoint Diane Berkovich to Parks and Rec. Board
Make a
expiring
motion.
12/31 of '25.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Giamini. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries on that. So now we are at 14D.
Yay.
Go ahead, chief.
All right. First of all, thank you guys for entertaining that motion to move that to the top. Mr. Crum, if you'd join me up here. I want to introduce to you Mr. Todd Crum. Todd Crum comes from us from Bloomfield Township. He failed at retirement. He retired in June after 26 years of service with the Bloomfield Township Police Department. He was a detective for 16 years. He worked midnights for 10 years prior to that. He is a great catch, as it is for our police department. We got great experience, great maturity, and we're really looking forward to having him here. We are asking for approval to hire Mr. Todd Crum as a full-time police officer for the village of Wolverine Lake.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Boy. Who took the tie on that one? Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien, I guess. To hire Todd Crum as a new police officer. Any discussion?
I just have one question. How many police officers does that bring us up to?
That will bring us full staff to 8.
To 8.
Yep. So we're back to where we were prior to layoffs in 2008. So we're back to where we need to be right now. So we're excited, and like I said, I can't think of a better person to have out there. He's everybody I've talked to has raved about him, and so we're looking forward to having him here. So
Great.
his wife Laurel is here also, and he's got 3 grown children.
Yes.
And a grandbaby that they're going to be able to watch for a while. So it's really, it was a huge relief to have him walk into the office and say, you know, I think I want to work here. It's kind of like, I think I want you here. So it's going to be a great fit, and we're really looking forward to having you here. So.
Okay, with that, roll call vote, please.
Nedrow?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Kazaki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
All right.
With that,
Almost official.
I could.
you want to please swear him in? He gets sworn at here now for the first time.
Just briefly, just to echo the chief's comments, I had the opportunity to participate in the interview when Todd came in, and very good interview, very impressive resume. I think he's going to be a good fit here, as the chief had said. We're going to be very happy to have him. I think the whole village is. So the only strike against him is a Michigan State grad. Played football at Michigan State, and then also played some professional football after that. So if you ever have a chance, I'm sure Todd has some good stories to tell too.
And Dave lives in Tampa, so we'll show you his house.
Okay. Ted, if I could get you to raise your right hand, please, and then repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Todd Crum,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
the duties of
the duties of
the office of police officer
the office of police officer
in and for
and Torah,
the Village of Wolverine Lake,
the Village of Wolverine Lake,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
and State of Michigan,
and State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Don't bring him back now.
I've retired 3 times.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, and the sanitize this mouth.
There you go.
Thanks. All right, on the presentations. Recommendation updates from Mr. Powell. First up is our 2022 road paving program.
This is going to be a long one.
Yeah, this is going to be a long one. That's right. Merry Christmas, Council.
Absolutely.
A lot of activity in the last month here in the village, and these pay requests kind of represent that activity. The first one is a repaving of a low spot that developed in Wolverine Drive. It's down across from Lucille. And it is, every time you repave the roads and reshape them, short of removing all the material that you've ground up, we raise the road slightly. In this particular spot, there's a catch basin right in the road ending of Lucille, and over the years that the swale that flows into that had filled in, and the driveway at 612 Wolverine Drive had about 5 inches of water right along the shoulder of Wolverine Drive. When we paved, it exacerbated that a little bit. It used to run down across everybody's property on their shoulder, and that didn't happen anymore. And so we designed a fix in that we raised the shoulder up and took all the water that was coming south on Wolverine Drive that normally continued past this person's driveway, and we recreated the swale into the catch basin there at the road ending of Lucille. That being done, we wanted to do this as part of the road paving program, and so H.G. Sarter came in for us and milled out a section of his driveway, a section of the shoulder, and came in and paved that area. And now we have no standing water at all in the road and no standing water in his driveway. The owner worked with us extremely well. And so we've taken care of this paving issue, or this drainage issue. A little issue has come up, and I was made aware by Andy and the administrator that we're having a little bit of separation of some of that new asphalt. I was going to suggest that council pay H.G. Sarter the full amount. I would feel much more comfortable if we were to hold 20% back through the winter and pay him for what he's done, but hold back 20% from the payment until next spring. And this is in line with what we've done with the major paving program as well. We're holding money back until next spring. All paving in the village has to be warrantied for a year, so it shouldn't be an issue. But this then means that we're going to be holding back $2,384.50 for a intermediate payment of $9,538, and I'm recommending that we pay H.G. Sarter that amount.
Motion to pay H.G. Sarter the $9,538 less the amount less than, or 20% less than the $11,000.
Yes.
The original.
Yep.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by this, second by Mr. O'Brien. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
Kaznecki.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes. Okay.
That came out of the Major Road Fund, by the way, which is the flush of our road paving program, and it comes out of the paving program, and we were approximately $50,000, $60,000 under budget on that, and so this falls right in line in the budgeted amount for the paving program. So we're still good with that. JJM, and I think all of you know him as Jeff Miller, who does a great deal of gratis work for the village. We brought him in to do the prep work of recreating the swale, rebuilding the catch basin to be able to take this water that we have now diverted into the catch basin instead of continuing all the way down. It was very interesting to watch the water before we did this. It continued all the way down Wolverine Drive and flooded virtually every driveway. It was like a river going all the way down Wolverine Drive until we got to 582 Wolverine Drive. And then it was picked up in a slotted drain that we put in that driveway about 10 years ago. We've now short-circuited that, so they're receiving like 200 feet less stormwater running down Wolverine Drive than they did. And JJM came in and created the swale, rebuilt the catch basin, and now we're draining it into a catch basin where it really belonged in the first place. So JJM did an excellent job, so I'm recommending that we pay him his amount of invoice for $1,060.
Motion to pay JJM backhoe for $1,060.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremy. Any discussion? Roll call vote on that, please.
Duff.
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
Kaznecki.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We got the crack sealing program.
This is our annual crack sealing program, and it is taken out of two budgeted line items here in the village. There are major roads and there are minor roads. And if you recall, when we awarded this contract to A&R Crack Sealing, seal coating company, they have been the low bidder for the last 10, 11, 12 years. The other contractors have stopped even bidding because they can't even compete. In this particular case, they were still able to do the crack sealing around the entire village, and you can see from my letter, we ended up with $14,000 in the minor roads and $6,912 on the major roads from budgeted funds for a total payment of $20,926.20, which is under the budgeted amounts that we adopted.
Is this more than last year?
I believe it's the same amount as last year, if I'm not mistaken. The lineal footage ended up being the same, and I think we budgeted more money, but it's within the budgeted funds, so.
Motion to do the annual crack sealing at $20,926.20.
That was to pay A&R seal coating.
Yep.
Any second? Second by, so a motion by Duff, second by Mr. O'Brien again. And any discussion on that? I think they did a good job again.
They really, and I've just got to tell you, they're such a good contractor. They know our need, and the need is we don't want our stormwater and our snow melt water going down in the cracks in the road and then expanding when it freezes again and breaking up our roads. They actually are very conservative, and they finish the roads in the village and lower the amounts that they bill us to keep it within budget. And that's what kind of contractor they are. They actually want to take care of our roads for us. That's the kind of contractor we want.
Okay, roll call vote on that, I guess.
Jeremini.
Yes.
Kaznecki.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Okay.
Just one other comment on this item, if I could. The crack sealing program, we also use the funding that we get from Oakland County under their local road improvement program to help support this. So this year, we, out of the total amount that we're paying to ANR seal coating, roughly $8,800 of that is coming from Oakland County. So,
Good. Super. Then we got the Marshall Water Main, huh?
Yes, now we get into, we're out of the major and minor road fund issue. If you recall, council authorized us to extend 200 feet of water main further down Marchar. We had two property owners that were requesting water, village water to be presented instead of using well water. We have one elderly lady that has a marginal well, still functioning. However, she'd very much like to be on village water. And while we extended it down, we approached all the homes on Marchar, and two of the three homes that we've run this water main in front of wanted to tie in. So we have two ladies that would like to tie into the village water and replace their wells. As part of this project, the water main was constructed and it was put through their driveways. And these really sweet ladies wanted to make sure their driveways were replaced properly before the winter. And one of the driveways was concrete, the other driveway was asphalt. The one before you right now was repaired by Extreme Concrete. They came in and saw cut and replaced the road with 6 inches, their driveway with 6 inches of concrete in the area where it was taken out for the new water main. And so this is for the concrete driveway. The next one will be for the asphalt driveway. We're asking for Extreme Concrete to be paid $3,000 for the repair of that driveway.
Motion to pay Extreme Concrete for $3,000.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Kuznecki. Any discussion on that? Okay, roll call vote.
Kuznecki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Medro?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Giromini?
Yes.
And we got the asphalt driver for
Now, this is
Saturday.
the asphalt drive, and I wanted to point something out because every once in a while, I learned something, and in this market, it was very interesting. If you see that this asphalt construction is more expensive than the concrete, virtually the same width road, same section of a driveway that had to be replaced, and I called H.D. Sarter to say, did you make a mistake? Because a concrete driveway has normally been much more expensive than asphalt. He said, no, the market is so high right now, the petroleum products are so high that his cost for the asphalt is more than putting concrete in. And I was very surprised, but obviously it would have been odd to have a ribbon of concrete in the middle of the asphalt, so $360 more, I felt it was worth it. So I'm recommending the H.D. Sarter be paid $3,360 for the repair of the driveway there at 2555 Marchar.
Motion to pay H.D. Sarter $3,360.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Giromini. Any discussion on that? Another roll call.
McNutt?
Yes.
Done yet.
Medro?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Giromini?
Yes.
Kuznecki?
Yes.
Finally, Ethel Court, huh?
Ethel Court, and I don't know if Administrator Gillum wants to introduce this one and explain it to council, but Dave, you want to start this, or?
well, I'll let you start, Mark, Mr. Powell, just because this really came down to engineering analysis of what the
Yes.
problem was and what the cause was.
Yes,
So-
all right, very good. The village was notified that a resident's driveway had cracked up and was settling between the property line and the roadway on Ethel Court. It was extremely obvious that there was a failure in the material underneath the drive, underneath the concrete. Granted, it was only a 4-inch concrete in the area. the engineering standards now require 6 inches of concrete to be placed when it's in the road right-of-way. So from the edge of the road to where the property line is, typically that's now 6 inches of concrete. Back 40 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, it was only 4 inches of concrete. So there were a great deal of concepts as to why that driveway was settling. We have a catch basin on each side of the driveway, so we could take pictures of those catch basins, and we could see down the pipe underneath the driveway on both sides, but we couldn't quite tell why the driveway was settling with the concrete still, broken concrete above it. The history of this is that the ditch line on Ethel and Ethel Court was filled in some, well, I'm thinking it was 45, 50 years ago. And it was a Village Wolverine Lake project to enclose the ditch line along that area. And it carries water all the way from South Commerce Road down Ethel, into Ethel Court, and down to the lake at the end of Ethel Court. This area is where it turns, otherwise it's straight, and it turns north and goes towards the lake and outlets into the lake. This driveway carries that water from off-site all the way down in front of her property and underneath her driveway. The only way we could tell what was really happening was to take that driveway up and see, to kind of see what was happening. The owner had a pseudo-engineer. He was an insurance adjuster who, I like to think that I'm an attorney once in a while too, and he thought he was an engineer as well. So he had his mind made up by the homeowner that it was all the village's fault. There was a potential that it was their driveway broke up, and the water going down the cracks in their driveway is what carried the sand out from underneath the driveway. When we took the driveway up and removed the pavement, we found that there were 3 areas in the village storm sewer that had openings, that the water that was flowing in alongside the driveway and through these cracks was flowing into the catch basins and into a joint in the storm sewer itself and carrying that sand away. You can well imagine if there was no place for the sand to go, the water could sit underneath the driveway and it would then stay firm. But with water being carried into the cracks in our storm sewer system, we were carrying the water, the sand away that was underneath the driveway. So when there are voids underneath a concrete driveway and then somebody drives on it, it obviously snaps. And that's what was happening through the years. The insurance agent said, see, I told you so, but the bottom line is nobody knew until we took that driveway up. It was in my opinion that it was the breaks in the storm sewer line that actually carried the sand away that exacerbated the pavement and the breaking up of the driveway. The DPW came right in after the driveway was taken up. They rebuilt the catch basins on both sides. They repaired the leak in the storm sewer. Did an excellent job, so we don't expect this to ever happen again. DPW brought in stone so that the elderly lady could drive her car in and out, and then within 3 days, Extreme Concrete was able to come in and repave her driveway. So we have a very happy resident that her driveway is fixed, and Extreme Concrete, again, their price was very, very good, and you can see they actually repaid more pavement, they repaved more driveway than the Marchar project, but they still only charge us $3,000 for this repair, and I highly recommend that we pay Extreme Concrete that $3,000 for the repair of 140 Ethel Court.
Motion to pay Extreme Concrete $3,000.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. Any discussion on that? Roll call vote finally.
Nedrow?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Kaznecki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
And I'm sorry for dragging the meeting out. I get talking about engineering, and I have fun talking and sharing engineering with you. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to call me.
Actually, concrete's tough to get right now, too.
So interesting, because we had a number of different contractors come and look at this and many other projects that we're working on. This contractor has an in with a supplier. The other contractors couldn't even get concrete in the supplies necessary to do our work here in the village and other projects I have going on. So there's a shortage in Portland cement.
Yep.
That's correct.
Sure is. It's crazy.
So thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. President, if I could, I just would like to particularly thank Mr. Powell for his work on this project at this address. I was working with the homeowner's son who lives out of state. We were trying to coordinate that, and he and the son and I had reached an understanding as to what the process would be and whose responsibility it would be to get to the point in the project where we could determine what the problem was. And I was out there the morning that the guys from the DPW pulled up the driveway. Mike was out there too, and his cooperation, his work on this made it go very smoothly. I just want to thank him specifically on this.
Great, thank you.
So,
Super. Okay, moving along, we have a public hearing for our 2023 CDBG funds.
Motion
Motion to open
to
the public
open the public hearing for the CDBG funding
allocation.
allocation for the year 2023.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremini. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, we are now in open public hearing. Anybody like to speak on CDBG funds? See, I said it fast that time. Seeing none?
Motion to close the 2023 public hearing for the CDBG funding allocation.
Okay. Motion by Duff, second by Bill O'Brien to close the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving along to new business item A, which is program year 2023 CDBG funding allocations. And in the years past, we've allocated for 50/50 Haven and Lakes Area Youth, right?
generally speaking, my review of the file, the villages split the block grant funding allocation between Haven and also between a housing assistance program that Oakland County offers. A couple years ago, we split the allocation between Haven, and then also we took our portion of the allocation to actually install the door openers and closers on the restrooms down here. We finally got that done within the past year. Then last year, after reviewing all of our options and talking a little bit with Chief Ellsworth and some other people, my recommendation to council, which was subsequently adopted, was to, rather than sending half of the money for the housing assistance program, not that there's anything wrong with the housing assistance program or that isn't a valuable service, but my thinking was that I think the village gets more benefit from the work that Lakes Area Youth Assistance does in terms of our residents than we did from the housing assistance program. So last year, we split the allocation between Haven and Leah. That's my recommendation again this year. I think that gets us the most bang for our buck in terms of what's the most beneficial to our residents in the village.
And you were correct. I mean, we did spend it on the door openers a couple of years ago, and then previous to that, for a couple of years, we ended up going with Oakland County Housing. But previous to that, for many years, we've always gone through Haven and Lakes Area Youth Assistance. So this is it's going back to the norm again.
Yeah, going through Leah is a little bit more work for us administratively because the housing assistance program, because it's administered by the county, they handle all the paperwork. It's and the same with Haven. The services that are administered through Haven are pursuant to a contract that the county has with Haven. So there really isn't that much work for us to do. I suppose we could have taken the path of least resistance and gone back to the two county programs, but again, I think Leah is the best for our residents.
We get a lot of good usable funds out of Leah. I mean, they do a good job with the village here, so.
So that's my recommendation, that I provided you with a proposed resolution, but it would split, the estimated allocation is $7,000. The numbers haven't been finalized in Washington DC yet, so the information hasn't been able to trickle down to Pontiac yet, so they can't give us firm numbers, but they're estimating $7,000 again, so if council adopts this recommendation, then what I'll be putting in the application that I'll be filing with Oakland County next week will be to split the funding between Lakes Area Youth Assistance and Haven.
Okay.
Motion to adopt as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien, to split payments for CDBG funding, half through Haven and half through Lakes Area Youth Assistance for 2023 funding year. Any discussion on that? Okay, roll call vote, please.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Chiappini?
Yes.
Guzekowski?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes. Next up, we have a couple organizational things we have to set. Our meeting date, time, and location, which is second Wednesday of each month, 7 p.m. for regular meetings, and our fourth Wednesday from each month at 7 p.m. for work sessions to be held in council chambers.
Motion to set.
Motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Jeremini. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And then 2, adopt rules of order for business, which is Robert's Rules of Order, which we have forever.
Motion to adopt Robert's Rule of Order.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremini on that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 3, designate our official newspaper as a Public Notice Weekly, which is formerly known as the Spinal Column. So,
Motion to designate the official newspaper as Public Notice Weekly.
motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. Question, they are going to be, I mean, there has been a little issue with the Spinal Column, so they're going to be publishing weekly, are they?
Yes, yep. And the conversations that I've had with Jim Stevenson, and then also within Seawald, had to do with whether or not their schedule was going to comply with all the requirements of Michigan law. And they both assured me that they had spoken with their attorneys, and they feel that they are going to be
Okay.
in compliance to be able to provide proper public notice.
Okay, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, designate signatories to the village funds, which I believe are going to be okay, right? With where we're at?
Yeah, actually, we won't have to change
We won't have to
anything.
worry about changing anything.
But we do need the formal designation. As historically, what we've done here in the village, it's been the administrator, so it'd be myself. It's been the treasurer, Ms. Hanson, the council president, Mr. Nedrow, and then also the president pro tem, Mr. Duff. So there will be no change, but we do need a resolution designating the signatories going forward for this council.
Okay. Your motion?
Or somebody else makes a motion.
Motion to designate the signatories of village funds as Village Administrator Dave Gillum, Village Treasurer Jeff Hansen, Village President, Council President Brian Nedrow, and Village President Pro Tem Mark Duff.
Thank you, Mark.
Second.
Second, Mr. McNutt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, no objections, I'm sure. Council committee assignments. Now, this one's going to be fun. Going through the list. Administrative committee. Mr. Malik sat on that, and I sat on it, and...
I nominate Bill
Mr.
O'Brien.
Duff. Okay, we have a nomination for Mr. O'Brien. Anybody else? Seeing none, we hear a second.
Second.
Second by Jeremini. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we got Mr. O'Brien. Gypsy Moth Committee, we have a vacancy on that. Anybody's not really, Malik jumped on that in a heartbeat, by the way. Anybody willing to jump on it? Otherwise, I mean, I could probably fill it. Yes.
I'll take it.
You gonna take it?
This will be the year of the Gypsy Moth.
Get rid of the gypsy moths in the parks, right? Okay. Put Mr. Jeremini on that.
I'll second that.
We probably don't have to have a motion, we'll go through all these and
That's fine.
jump on a motion at the end, I guess. Lake Improvement Board, I'm trying to remember if we've even met.
You know, I don't
Boards even met.
know if we need to fill the positions on the Lake Improvement Board. My recollection was that Ms. Olowski had indicated that since we had the Water Management Board, we didn't really need to fill the Lake Improvement Board positions.
I think that's the way we went around last go-around too, as I recall. We're trying to figure if we even need to have that board around anymore. With that, we'll bypass that. But we do need a liaison to the Water Management Board. Malik was on that one.
Now, I mean, I can't speak for him because he's not here and I haven't talked to him, but I know
Dumont?
2 years ago, when Bob had indicated that he wanted to be on it, that David also expressed an interest in being on it. So, but I mean, we can actually hold this over.
We can hold it over until next month.
January, because
Yeah.
the Water Management Board has already canceled their meetings for
December and January.
So,
Just throw him on the board. I'll make a motion that we nominate him.
I'll second it.
There you go.
Well, we'll throw him on since he's not here.
Who's going to vote yes?
If he, maybe he's watching in Hawaii. Dave?
Oh, is it Hawaii?
He has been.
He's in Hawaii, he's watching this, he's doing something wrong.
You're right there, Mark. You're still willing to be Parks and Rec? Okay, good. CBA?
Yep.
I'm willing to go on planning still. Michigan Municipal League Coordinator, he's designated as administrator. Lakes Area Youth Assistance,
Do you know when they meet?
what, Lakes Area?
Like any of these? I mean, because my participation in any of them.
I can't remember what the Gypsy Moth Committee
I have some commitments that I've made, you know.
Lakes is on Wednesday.
I've been on boards or things I'm doing certain nights of the week that I'm committed to.
Right. Well, I know Lakes Area Youth Assistance, we already had.
Wednesday.
We got Mr. McNutt and Mr. O'Brien both on that.
Yeah.
but Bill had, unless I understood, Bill had work conflicts and he had submitted a resignation for that, or am I?
No, I didn't.
No?
It was me.
Oh, it was you? Okay.
What?
Can you believe it?
So are you off it then?
Yeah, I couldn't.
Okay,
I'm
It was-
sorry.
it was-
Oh,
yeah, it was-
Reminds me of when the other Patrick Francis O'Brien got kicked out of high school, and he sent the notice to our house. And my dad came home, and my brother really got it.
Wednesdays at noon, and it's just,
Wednesdays at noon?
yeah, that's when they were. Usually the same days as the council meetings.
Well, we have one on it, we don't necessarily need two. Right? But if Pam would like to be on it, I'm sure she could be.
That's once a month, every week?
Once a month.
Once a month, at 12 o'clock noon.
It varies from 11 to starting at either 11 or 11:30 or 12. They kind of switch it up.
There's plenty of other stuff.
All right. I'll pass.
Okay. Pathway Committee, I know Dave was on that. Dumont was on that. Mark, you were on there also? SEMCOG, I was on as a delegate, and Dave Dumont's on as alternate. Negotiating Committee, we had Mark, myself, and Malik was on that also.
I can take that one.
Would you like to be on that?
Yeah.
Mr. McNutt on negotiating. Anybody have anybody else? Okay, we'll put Mike on that one. Police Hiring Board, Chief and the Administrator, I think that's all set. Park capital approval. We had Dave Dumont. Mark is on there, along with our administrator and our treasurer, and Lori Longbreak. So we're all set on that one. Veterans Memorial Committee, is that pretty much status quo, Mark? Western Oakland County Road Bike Path, Dave Dumont was on that, Mark's on that. And our administrator, Diane Breakovich. Phase 2 Subcommittee, we had Mark, Brian, myself, and Bill, and I don't think we've ever met. That was through, I know we used to meet a lot when we were going through phase 1, phase 2 for design standards. That was implemented with water quality road building back like 2008. So they've kind of phased phase 2 out pretty much, but we can meet if we need to. Here on Watershed Council. Pam? I don't know even know when they meet. I don't know when it meets either.
You know, and I know that the Water Management Board, for a while it was Mike Sargent that was on that, and then he resigned because he had conflicts. And then I believe Paul Snyder had been looking in to get more information about it, but I haven't heard anything recently about some kind of a liaison to the Watershed Association, so.
Well, if that's vacant yet, we can probably still, somebody could show up if needed to, I guess.
I mean, if there was a meeting that somebody had to go to, I could even go to it, but...
I don't think there's anything necessity-wise.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bypass that then. Audit Finance Committee.
I'll do that.
We got McNutt, no Brian on it.
I'll do that one.
You want that one?
Sure.
And then we've got beautification, which is all full, so I guess Pam, you're skated. Unless you want water board.
I probably could help on the lakes area. If you need me there.
We could put you on that one. I really don't know if it necessarily know if we need a motion to. I don't believe we have in the past. Just got everybody's name on it, so we're good. Moving on to item E, I guess. Beautification Committee recommendation. To recommend council release budgeted funds to purchase holiday decorations from display sales. And this is budgeted funds that we put together from, I think Andy had some funds in DPW. And
Is that for the village office area outside?
I think you're talking about the signs, a couple around the electric signs.
Yeah, we were talking the snowflakes around the electric signs. We were talking the pop-up tree up here. We were also talking the Santa and his reindeer up here, but that might be too big. That'd be fine if you wanted to take that, maybe get a couple extra snowflakes instead to put out here. And those are the signs that have electricity to them. That's why we were talking those signs. And that. So it's really what council's pleasure, what they want to do. And the prices are for this year. January 1st, they go up, and they may go up a lot. We're not...
Yeah.
And these would be signs that would be purchased
For next year.
this year, but would be put up next year.
Yeah,
Right.
well, this
But this
they're
is
bad.
budgeted funds, though,
Yes.
right?
Yes, they are budget funds, and they're made down in Indiana somewhere.
Yeah, and these are made, as I understand, they're made by hand. They're not mass-produced, and so they don't exist right now. So we're not talking about buying something that we'll get and we'll put up this year. We're talking about ordering something before the end of the year to take advantage of the current pricing, and then next calendar year, then the company will manufacture the stand-up displays, and then we'll take delivery on them or pick them up to be worked out, and then start putting the display signs out next year.
Right. So, I mean, it's really up to council. We were talking 4 to the one down at Glengarry and South Commerce. we could do, if you wanted to ditch this Santa and reindeer, and put a couple snowflakes out here, either a couple, or put 4 here and put 2 at the other electric sign. It's really whatever council wants to do.
Make a motion that we just do quote B.
They don't want to just,
Yeah, I'd
And
make,
the pop-up tree.
I make a motion that
we got, like,
Yeah.
I think there was, what, $10,000 in budget funds, is that
Yeah.
correct?
I make
So-
a motion that we release $9,331 as budgeted funds to the beautification committee.
Well, actually, to administration to
Well,
purchase,
Administration, but
administration to
for the
purchase
for the beautification committee.
decorations for
Yep.
next year.
I'll second.
Motion by Duff, second by Bill O'Brien.
Is there any feedback on what you guys want? Do you want the Santa and the reindeer, or just leave it up to administration?
I'd say leave it up to administration and DPW.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works
Yeah,
perfect.
it's really hard to tell from the pictures
Yeah.
Yeah.
how stuff looked.
I have some other ones that are blown up that I did too, but I don't think they made it into the packet.
I'm sure you guys, they'll have much better taste than I have.
Well, see, this one might be awfully big.
It's 30 feet,
13 feet long.
Yeah.
That is long.
which is pretty.
So, and then these are the snowflakes. It's not this one, it's
They're
this
like
one.
4 feet in
I
diameter.
like that one.
Yeah, we didn't want that.
Yeah.
So these are the other, so there would be the 4 different ones than that. And there, we went with the smaller ones, the 3 foot, 2 of them are 3 foot, and I think the other one is 4 foot.
4 foot, yeah.
And that, so
Yeah.
it's this one, not this one.
Here, we've got a tree too.
So,
You got a 3-foot tree, you got a 4-foot Santa.
Well,
We covered that.
well, that motion recovered, I think, so. Roll call vote, please.
Duff,
Yes.
Giromini,
Yes.
Kaznecki,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Medrow,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Next up is our tree inventory / assessment. We got a forestry grant that we've applied for through our administrator and Davy Tree Service, I believe.
If I could, just a little bit of background for everybody on this. I think we had some discussion previously at the council table about having a tree inventory done. And in fact, I think everybody agreed that we're overdue to get one done. Because we've really been in a reactive mode upstairs as far in terms of tree issues. Either the DPW will see a tree that is either has fallen down or is at risk of falling down, or we'll get a call from a resident who's concerned about the condition of a tree. We go out, we evaluate the tree if necessary, we get outside opinion as to whether or not the tree's a risk or not. If it's a problem, we take it down. If it's a problem at some point down the road, then we just kind of put it on a list and try to monitor it. But really, it has been kind of hit and miss. So I had reached out to Davy Tree. I had learned through the municipal executive listserv that they offered the tree inventory service, that there are other communities in the area that had used Davy Tree, and they were really happy with the work that Davy had done. So I reached out to Davy Tree, and right around the same time, I received an email from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources letting me know that they had this grant program from their forestry division, and one of the things, as it turned out, that could use the grant for was for a tree inventory or a tree assessment. So when I did hear back from Lee Mueller at Davy Tree, who actually grew up in Milford, so he's very familiar with the area, in conversation with him, I explained to him what it is that I was looking to have done, and we seemed to be on the same page. And without me mentioning anything to him, he said, "Do you know about this MDNR forestry grant program that you could use to help pay for the survey?" I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I just saw an email about it the other day." So we talked a little bit about that. He's very familiar with the grant program. He had actually offered, in connection with the discussions that he and I were having about them doing the inventory and assessment for us, he offered to basically do the lion's share of the work on the grant application for us, because he had done it before, and he had been fairly successful in getting grants. So I said, absolutely, I mean, if you'd like to help us on that, that would be great. And us retaining Davey to do the inventory assessment wasn't necessarily contingent upon us getting a grant, but from my perspective, if we're able to get the grant, then we're ahead of the game. So, working with Lee, we did get the grant application in. As I've indicated in here, our grant application has been approved. It's a matching grant, so we've been awarded a grant for $10,500, which would cover most of the cost of the tree inventory and the assessment. Part of the match will also be able to use staff time to the match, so I don't have an exact dollar figure as to what our out-of-pocket commitment, so to speak, will be, but it will be less than the $10,500 of the grant itself. So there are some, I don't want to say there's strings attached, but there are some expectations that go along with the grant and with the form of the grant application that we submitted, and that basically we have to agree to work to become a member of Tree City USA next year in 2023, which isn't a huge obligation on us, but there are some things that we will have to do. I've listed those in here. The expectations that the Tree USA organization has is, number one, we would have to designate a department that's responsible for trees in the village. Well, we already know who that is. It's the Department of Public Works. We would have to adopt a tree ordinance, and it's not a broad tree ordinance that would govern all the trees in the village. It's only an ordinance that would apply to the trees that are on village property and village owned. So we're not telling people what they can do or can't do in their own yards. We're just setting guidelines and standards for how we would deal with tree issues on our trees. So, and I've looked at a model ordinance from Tree USA, and it's not a problem. I didn't have any objections with it. I'll share it with the attorney's office, but I think that should be pretty straightforward for us. We have to spend at least $2 per resident annually on urban forestry. Well, we've got 4,500 people in the village, so that's about $9,000. If you look at some of the receipts for some of the trees that we've had to take, the oak trees we've had to have taken down recently, we already spend more than that. So I don't see that as being an issue. And then we have to have some kind of an Arbor Day observation every year going forward. And I think between the village and the Parks and Recreation Board, I think that's something we could easily do. So I don't think there are any drawbacks to proceeding with the grant, so I would recommend that we accept the grant. And then to help us carry out the purposes of the tree inventory, I'm also recommending that we accept the proposal that we received from Davey Tree for the inventory and the assessment.
Motion that we accept the grant and accept the proposal from Davey.
And the grant was $10,500, and I believe the proposal from Davey Tree is like $12,000, not to exceed 12.
For the inventory assessment, it's $10,500, and then they have also indicated that for an additional $1,500, they provide a tree inventory summary or report, which I think would be useful. So I've included that, the price of the summary report in the resolution. So it'd be a $12,000 expenditure for Davey. There could be more down the road. We get a year's free use of their software to track our tree inventory. If that's something that we like and we want to continue to use, there would be an additional expense. But we can deal with that next year.
Down the road.
Because as long as we are going to renew the subscription, as long as we do it before the subscription expires, we don't have to pay a startup fee or anything like that. So.
Okay, that's motion by Duff, second by
Second.
Archerini. Any discussion?
So I was just a little confused. So this is mainly like for Clara Miller, our parks and with pocket parks?
Along the roadways.
And the roadways.
Right-of-ways along the roads.
Okay, it's not for resident who has a tree that's saying, you know, it's next to the road, so we have to cut it down, right?
Well, if it's in the right-of-way, it's village property technically, so this would fall
Even if
under
they
that.
planted it? I was curious about that.
Yeah, if it's in the road right-of-way.
If it's in the road, right away, it's our responsibility.
And we've talked about this when you were on council before, I'm sure, about trees around the village, right? I know it's been ongoing for quite a few years, and we've probably been a little neglect on that side of things over the past. So,
Hopefully what this will do, what Davey will be able to help us with, is setting some priorities. Literally, they will inventory all of the public trees in the village, and they'll be able to identify the ones that are a hazard, that are a danger, that need to come down sooner rather than later. Hopefully, they'll be able to indicate ones that we should be keeping an eye on, and they'll be able to identify the ones that, while some people may think they're a problem, that they're really not a problem. And so we can be proactive going forward.
right. I think it's a great idea. With that, the motion and a second, so roll call vote.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Kaznecki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Okay. Progressive AE Professional Services Agreement for 23-24.
Actually, we skipped over.
Whoop, I skipped over MML.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just saw that. Flipped the page and struck it out.
Yeah, this was
This is
to renew our membership in the MML for 2023. $2,748.
And we do utilize MML quite a bit. Need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept is presented to renew the MML.
Motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Jeremini. Any comments or anything on this? Roll call vote, please.
Kaznecki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Now we got Progressive AE Services for 2023, or 2023 and 24. So, they went by $500, it went up.
$500 increase per year over the current contract.
And this is for a 2-year contract, was it, Dave?
2 years,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I thought. Tune of $19,000 a year.
Motion to accept the contract as presented, $19,000 a year for Progressive A&E as our professional lake.
Here's second.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by O'Brien. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
McNutt?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Kaznecki?
Yes.
On to fireworks. Looks like we got a contract with Zambelli.
Doing a little bit earlier this year to hopefully have a few more options in terms of the display, but yeah, this is a proposal from Zambelli for a display for Tiki Night next year for $35,000, which is the same amount that we paid this year, but this would be basically the same type of display, not exactly the same, but similar in terms of the amount of fireworks. And again, the breakdown that we've discussed is a $15,000 village contribution and then a $20,000 contribution from onwards and upwards.
I think we pretty much had discussed it before, so it's in the same direction we were talking about previously.
Yeah, this is just the formal contract from
Yeah.
Zambelli for approval.
So any discussion or any motion?
Motion to accept the 2023 fireworks contract as presented.
From Zambelli?
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Kaznecki. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Nedrow?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Kaznecki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Okay, 20.
And then, Mark, I'll follow up with you. Typically, Zambelli wants, and what this provides for is a 50% deposit when we send the contract in, so we can figure out whether on it up wants to write the whole deposit, or if we want to split it now, split it
Whatever's
later.
easiest,
but
we can do it.
Yeah, we'll figure that out, so.
All right. Item J, 2022 Citizen of the Year nominations. So I guess we put out for nominations for looking at January 11th, that's the deadline at 5 PM, so.
Yeah, this is what we've done in the past. I mean, we'll obviously have hard copies of the nomination forms upstairs. In addition, we'll put a link on the website and maybe potentially something out on our Facebook page too. And then if residents or non-residents, whoever, if they want to submit their nominations to us by the January 11th deadline, that's the date of our next council meeting. And then after that meeting, or maybe even that same night, depending upon what our schedule looks like, we can get the admin committee together to review the nominations. So we would be potentially in a position to award Citizen of the Year in February at the council meeting. So that's the time frame we're talking about.
Okay.
So unless anybody has any objection to
Any
that,
opposition to that?
yeah, I don't think we need a motion necessarily,
Right.
but that's the process that we'll follow.
Okay. Moving on to the next item was discussion regarding accessory building structures and lakefront yards.
Council, this is an item I put on the agenda. This is an issue that, as I understand, council has talked about before. I think, Brian, for our conversation earlier today, I think back in 2018, it looks like council had approved some amendments to the zoning ordinance, but it has to do with the location of accessory buildings in lakefront yards and the amount of the setback. So the specific issue here is what brought this back into discussion was Mr. Tabasco, who is here in the audience, is a resident over on Angola, and he has a gazebo that was in place. He didn't realize that he needed a permit to put it up because he had seen similar structures in other locations around the lake. Learned that he needed to have a permit, went to the zoning board, and his request for a variance was denied by the zoning board in a split vote. There was a fair amount of discussion at the zoning board at that time that board felt that the ordinance needed to be reviewed because of the number of other structures that were around the lake, that they felt that that's something that the planning commission should take a look at. At the next planning commission meeting, there was discussion, and Sally Elmiger, the village's planning consultant, commented that she thought it would be appropriate if word went back to the zoning board that if the zoning board wanted to have some specific modifications to the ordinance, that they should pass those along to the planning commission, so the planning commission could then potentially take a look at the ordinance. There was additional discussion at a later zoning board meeting about the need to make changes, but there was no specific discussion about what changes need to be made. So that's kind of where it has sat up to this point in time. Mr. Tabasco and I have talked several times because it became a code enforcement issue, and I basically told the code enforcement officer not to take any further action because my understanding was that the issue was pending review by the zoning board and/or the planning commission. Well, that was ballpark about a year ago, and there really hasn't been any.
It's been stagnant since then.
Yeah. So my thought in putting this on the agenda was to jumpstart the issue. Ultimately, any ordinance amendment that would be approved is going to have to be approved by council anyway. So I wanted to get some direction for my benefit, for Mr. Tabasco's benefit, but also for purposes of the zoning board and the planning commission, as to whether or not this is something that council wants to take another look at again.
Well, I know from the planning perspective, we did look at it from planning, and it was brought up, back in 2018, we ended up actually altering the ordinance to allow those items down by the lake. but they could not be within the lakefront setback. And that was same thing as pump houses, same thing as fireplaces, because we have had issues in the past where there have been properties that have built fireplaces or sheds down by within the setback of the lake, and neighbors were complaining about losing their sight. So that we did allow that to allow for gazebos, because gazebos were starting to become a little bit more popular back in 2018. That's when people were starting to put more of those up. So that was the thought from planning at that point. So when it came back to planning here a year ago, I mean, this is a couple, 2 or 3 years after we had allowed for it, we thought, well, you know, at least my recollection of planning was at that point that this was relatively a new thing that we put in place, and we thought that it was suffice to have that setback open. Yeah, we didn't want anything higher than 18 inches within that 35-foot lakefront setback. So that's what planning's discussion was. Where we go from there, I guess, is up to council and up to planning and whatever. So.
I guess it does bring into play, too, the enforcement of the ordinances. Sometimes it seems like it's selective, because you go on the lake, you really see
Well,
numerous
there is,
structures that are above 18 inches
Yep.
within that.
and there's a lot of other
So-
structures that were already there, so
But there's a
going
lot
by,
of them, too.
they're grandfathered in. I mean, there's a lot of sheds that were
Yeah,
down, right
there's a
down
lot
next to the
of-
lake, but they've been there for 40 or 50 years,
A lot
and
of
people
these
keep them up.
structures, too.
So in that case, I mean, they're grandfathered in place, and
Yeah, but it's
even though we
grandfathered,
changed the
yeah.
ordinance back in 2018, those were
Right.
previous to that, so they don't
Right.
really, they're not effective by that, so.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying, I have seen things go up,
Right.
and no code enforcement officers ever stopped,
Right.
you know, so
Right,
that
so it's
is
kind of-
selective.
Right,
you
it's
know,
selective in
so
regards
that,
to if somebody complains,
I know that there's some
then they'll come out.
grandfathered in too, right, because, you know, we've lived on this lake, 45 years, so, yeah, that's true too, but some of them are, you know, I don't know, does he just go around driving a car? Then he maybe wouldn't see things on the
That's
lake.
part of the problem, and I know,
You know?
we had, Administrator Gilman and I had that discussion this morning, in fact, a little bit. But I know that, you know, when Sharon was around, she used to go out occasionally on the lake, a couple times a year,
Yeah.
and would make sure things weren't, you know, being put up.
It's not like we're without
Illegally.
access to go
Yeah.
on the lakeside.
So,
We have a boat.
and you had mentioned that, I think that could be a possibility.
And I've talked about that with our code enforcement officer, so, and in talking with him about this issue, obviously, he's aware of this particular property because of the fact, and it was a complaint-driven situation.
Right.
And I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying, but as a practical matter, though, too, the way code enforcement works, a lot of it is complaint-driven. Some of it are things, some of the violations are things that the code enforcement officer does see when he's driving around, or if, I mean, he and I talked, we'll be putting my pontoon boat into service next year, I think, to go out and take a look at what's on the lake and what isn't on the lake, things like that. But it's not a situation where he picks and chooses, but it's just a question of what he can see.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I for one think it ought to be relooked at, because I agree with kind of what Brian said, you know, things change, and gazebos are pretty, they're not transparent, but they're, I mean, you can see through them. And there are some huge trees on this lake that block everything. I mean, you can't even see hardly, you know, the fireworks, because the trees are so massive.
There's large
So-
boat lifts, there's, you know, multiple boat lifts, so, I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
it's very similar.
I know there's one particular gazebo that's in the village that I've seen down by the water, and they actually enclose it in the winter and they store all their stuff in there. So, I mean, that's part of the problem when you have a situation like that, and
Right.
you can only look at so much from a planning commission. You can't solve every single situation, so you try to look at what's good for the community as a whole, so. It's really difficult, because there's a lot of different ways that things can be perceived and taken care of, so. I mean, we could send it back to planning, or we could look at it ourselves, or do whatever, I guess.
I know Mark and I both attend the ZBA meetings, and not just this issue, but there's so many that people come in for a variance, a resident, and say, oh, but he has it, he has it, he has it, he has it. So it's not just this issue, so it's it's a quandary,
And that's-
really, as
that's
to
part
how
of the
did it
problem,
get there?
too.
Like what you're saying, some were grandfathered, but a lot weren't, and then it's like, what do you do?
And then what do you do with the ZBA when the ZBA allows for something that is against the ordinance that planning put together, too? So, I mean,
We
that's how
try to
you
go
get,
by
I
our
know that's how you
legal
get,
requirements.
that's how you get some of those incidences, though, too. It's not easy, so.
Yeah.
It is, you try to, like I said, you try to put something together for the best of the community for a whole, so.
Well, and not the same, but along the same lines, I know there was an application that came in yesterday, and zoning board will be addressing in January. It's a new resident who wants to put a hot tub in the lakefront yard. And the way the ordinance is written, lakefront, or a hot tub is considered to be an above-ground pool.
Right.
And above-ground pools are not permitted.
There was one of those a couple of years ago, maybe.
I thought that was going to be addressed, though.
Well, it hasn't been addressed. So-
Yeah, we asked the planning committee to look at that.
I don't think that ever came before
'Cause
planning.
that is
Yeah.
definitely something
Yep.
that.
I don't think that was a planning
that
issue. I
needs to
think
be
that was,
looked at. 'Cause there's a lot, that's another one
Yep.
that could clean it up for all those that are existing. Because
Because we
they
had
would have
one,
to
it was,
deny it.
what, it was early in the year, it was like February or March when we had one that.
that was a couple of years ago.
No, that was this
There
year.
was one in Washington,
Yeah,
it was not that long ago. I think he had a
Yep.
partial medical need for it too or something, but
yeah.
Well,
So I would recommend that council would, it might be some jumping in here ahead of the game, but that's a simple, almost just a word, a language
Right.
change. Like, I don't think anybody really reasonably considers,
hot tub, a pool. Right, I agree.
I think times have changed and now we need to upgrade that. And that would take care of a lot of the inequities, at least on that issue.
Right.
If that could be addressed.
Well, as far as going with the other issue here, I mean, as far as the gazebos or accessory structures.
Maybe let me just make a suggestion or throw something out then. Maybe if council thinks it's appropriate, maybe we could kind of follow Sally Elminger's recommendation to the Planning Commission. And if council could formally refer the question back to the zoning board for them to identify what changes they think should be made relative to the gazebo issue for the benefit of the Planning Commission. And then once the zoning board has done that, and then maybe while the zoning board is doing that, maybe they could identify
I
other.
don't think you're going to get a consensus.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And in all honesty, I think it really isn't necessarily just a gazebo issue.
It's an accessory structure, really.
Yeah. There's a lot of other
Yep.
things and what is a gazebo, because some of them, I don't know if it's this particular case, but it was, it's like one of those, a little shelter, like your kid's soccer
Yeah.
game or whatever you might have taken, and then they
Yeah.
they attach it to the dock. So then that's not a gazebo, that's just our, cover. Well, how do you, it's very,
Yeah, when the ordinance was amended in
Not clear.
2018, it looks now, it was amended to include a definition of a pergola, it was amended to include the definition of a temporary shade structure. So, yeah.
We tried to cover what we could on it.
right.
But, whether it's your children or your grandchildren, or you having company with children out on the lake, if they're out in the sun all day, they need shade. If you don't have a tree, you could get sunstroke, for Pete's sakes, and so they're not being able to enjoy the lake as well as they can. So I think it needs to be revisited, I guess.
So I guess the question then is, if we just want to send it back to the Planning Commission and have them chew on it, or if you want to get some input from the zoning board first.
So we do have a meeting on next Tuesday.
I would say
so we
the
could
zoning
bring it up.
board would be a good way to start again.
could try.
like Sally said, from planning.
But again, I think it's going to be more, in my opinion anyway, more of an issue is of, do you allow anything? Do you change this ordinance and allow things to be done?
Well, that's what it really goes down to is we're not disallowing, currently, we're not disallowing pergolas.
Just how close.
Just, it's the placement of it. And so, I mean, if you're back 35 feet from the water, you'd be fine. So, that's what it boils down to from planning's perspective.
That pergola is called your house.
I understand. Like I said, you have to look at a lot of different scenarios when you put ordinances together, so.
It's not black and white.
Yeah, I know. Can we open up the audience?
Motion open.
I'm Dennis Sebastian.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Motion, go.
Motion by Duff, second by McNutt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Good evening.
Okay.
My name's Dennis Tabascan. I live at 340 Angola. Yeah, you're going through this, you're saying about structures, you're talking about pergolas, you're talking about gazebos. But your current ordinance also says that you can have a play structure. So a play structure can be up to 10 feet tall, can be up to 50 feet wide, right in front, right on the lake, which would be, would obstruct the vision of other people. Why are they being allowed? But a gazebo, when I went to the zoning board of appeal, I had my neighbors, and they were all in favor of it because it didn't obstruct their view. But I had someone came and they called, they turned me in. And a rule of thumb on this lake before in the past was on Mondays and Thursdays, you don't do anything, right? The rest of the week you can because of the code enforcement officer comes by. So, I mean, we're all guilty of it. Let's put it, But my contention, though, is why are structures? If you have a fire pit over 18 inches high, that's actually in non-compliant. So, I mean, there needs to be some clarification of it, and then there's going to have to be some clarification of what was 2018 prior to that and what was 2018. Because when I came before the Board of Appeals, I gave them 10 or 12, I think it was, photos of just gazebo structures. But there's also sheds that have been put up. There's a pizza oven that's been put up. There's other structures that have been put up.
I understand.
How are you going to differentiate who goes what? So that's a lot of thoughts got to be put into this.
I agree.
So
I agree. And the other alternative, just to let everybody do what they want to do, is not an alternative either.
No.
So I guess that's the hard part that we need to figure it out here somehow.
Yeah, see, I used to have, when we built our house in 72, we had a huge willow tree on there. And it provided all the shade for the kids and everything. We had a little deck down there. Well, in time, it rotted, and it came down a couple years ago. And like Mrs. Kaznicki said, I mean, you're going down there, and there's the sun beating down, and the kids are out there, and you're trying to enjoy the lake. I mean, the lake's come a long way since the 60s when we came out here. I mean, this is a beautiful lake, and you see all these cottages, and there's no more cottages on this lake. They're all, and people want to enjoy the lake. And how do you enjoy the lake? You go down to the lake, and you enjoy it. That's the way you do it. So, and that's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Motion to close.
Motion to close.
Motion by Duff, second by McNutt. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, with that, I think we have some direction that we're going to go back to.
I would like to have council, if possible, adopt some kind of a motion as to where you want this issue to go. I understand there's an enforcement component, and that's my issue. But then in terms of the language in the ordinance itself, do we want to send it back to the zoning board? If so, for their input, feedback to be communicated to the planning commission.
That sounds fine
And I
to
would
me.
ask for a motion from council to that effect.
I will motion that, in fact. That makes some sense to me. So we'll ask CBA for some direction, and then refer back to planning. So do I hear a second on that? Motion by Nedrow, second by McNutt. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And hopefully we'll be able to get that back to ZBA when they meet in December here.
Yeah, we can amend the agenda tomorrow. Include it as a discussion item.
So that'd be great. Okay,
And include copies of this also, just to refresh the recollection.
and they've got a current zone, or they've got a current ordinance, right? So they shouldn't have any problem with that. Okay, second call to the public. Anybody in the public like to address council on any items? Seeing none, we'll bypass the second call. And do we really want to have another work session this year?
Forgo, sorry.
Motion by Duff to forego our December 28th work session. Motion, second by Jeremini. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Pending business. I don't believe we have anything pending.
No, thank you.
Update from Police Chief Ellsworth.
That mine was going to be quick, but the more I sat here and listened to you guys, I had time to write down more notes, so it's going to be a little bit longer. First of all, welcome back, or welcome to Councilperson Pam Kesnecki. You're welcome back, I guess. I also want to thank the council for allowing us to hire Officer Crum for this position. He's going to be a great asset. The more you get to know him, the more you like him. So I'm really looking forward to having him around. One thing of serious note I want to mention, I think you probably got something in your Friday newsletter about, we are investigating an assault that occurred on the walking path. It occurred on December 6th, however, it wasn't reported. We didn't make contact with the victim until December 8th, so 2 days later. This is still an ongoing investigation, so we're not going to make any additional statements at this time, but I want you to be aware that I did get some calls from some TV stations today, and I just stated that we are investigating and we will not put out any statements, so I just want you guys to be aware. So if you do happen to see something in the near future, that's what that's about.
Where on the path?
It was actually...
Over by the pump house. Right?
Yeah, it was over by the Manzano Pump House between Terry Street and Manzano. But we've canvassed the area and we've looked at different Ring doorbells, et cetera. It was very tough because everybody has their Ring doorbells turned down towards their yards because they don't want cars going by to set them off all the time. But we were not able to get anything. We were able to verify a couple of things on our camera system that we got up, and so that was good, but that's all I'm going to say regarding the investigation for now. A couple of things on a good note. We had our Kids for Wigs annual Pigs for Wigs No Shave November fundraiser. Your Wolverine Lake Police Department raised over $16,000 for that nonprofit, Kids for Wigs. And that is the most out of any department in Southeast Michigan. That includes departments like Sterling Heights and Clawson, and yeah, so kudos. We had a very generous, we have a very generous community. Also last night, Sergeant Morosco and myself participated in the Cops for Kids Christmas at the Wixom-Meyer. We served over 30 children we are in coordination with Lake Sierra Youth Assistance, and we spent $200 on each child, so it was a good chunk of change last night. We spent, actually, some of us spent a little bit more than that, but it came out of our own pockets, which is okay, you know, but it was really neat. It was probably one of the best events that we have every year, and we really enjoy it, so. That being said, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and looking forward to 2023. The further we get away from 2020, the better. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer Hanson.
Yes, I would like to welcome Pam to the board. It's great to have you on here.
Thank you, Treasurer.
We're doing a lot of year-end reports and that sort of thing in the treasurer's office, and they're all coming together really nicely. We're still working on the audit and getting that stuff done. And I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Gillum.
Same as the earlier comments, congratulations to Pam, Bill, and Mark, and also to Dave, although Dave's would rather be in Hawaii, I guess, than be in but congratulations to all of you on being elected, and look forward to working with you for the next couple of years. And also just to thank Bob Malik again for the years of service. I know Bob's not here tonight. I'm sure we'll be hearing from Bob again.
Yes, we will.
But again, just again, as both as the administrator and a resident in the community, I appreciate all the time and the effort that Bob put in over the years. So, would acknowledge the work that our beautification committee has done on the signs, the wreaths that they put together that are out on the village signs. If you've seen those, are gorgeous. My wife wanted to steal one and take it home, but I told her she couldn't do that. So, and then also I wanted to acknowledge, since the last time we met, we wrapped up the leaf pickup program. Just acknowledge the work that the guys in the DPW did this year. It was hard work this year because the leaves came down real quickly. The second round of leaf pickup was like that, but that's because they had to do so much the first time through.
Right.
But all in all, I think it went very well, and I know those guys worked very hard, and I want to publicly acknowledge the work that they did on the leaf pickup this year. Other than that, just to wish everybody happy holidays. I think it's been a good year for us here at the village. I think we've got a lot accomplished. We've got a lot to get done next year, but I think we've got a lot to be thankful for.
Thank you. Thank you. Council comments. We'll go
Start with me.
give the return newcomer.
Well, I have to say, the reason I'm here is thanks to some encouragement from some friends I have in the village who encouraged me to run again, and to a set of lady friends that I have that must have told every friend of theirs in the village to vote for me. So, 'cause I did not do one campaign stop, one flyer or anything. So I guess word travels fast. So I'm looking forward to being here again. It was good the last time I was here. And Bob, I'm sorry, Bob. You're a good guy. I used to sit. You were sitting here, and I was sitting there, and yeah, we made a good team. But so I hope you'll enjoy your winter, and I know I'll be seeing you for Tiki Candle Help too. So I know he'll be around. Somewhere.
Yep, he sure will.
So yeah, I hope everybody has a really, really safe Christmas holiday. You know, and everybody's so busy, and sometimes we don't think things through all the time, and we're rushing, and so take time to slow down and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Welcome, Pam.
Thank you.
And just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Everybody be safe.
Okay, Bill?
Yeah, just like again, welcome Officer Crum. It's great to have him. Pam, welcome back. And congratulations to Mike and Mark and Dave Dumont. And just Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all.
Mike?
Next. That's it. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And glad to have Officer Crum, now called Officer Crum, listen. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Be safe.
Mark?
Welcome, Pam. Great to have you. Welcome to Officer Crum. Looks like it'll be a great addition. Snacks with Santa is this Saturday. We're sold out. Last big park and rec event of the year, but we do have the decorating contest as well. If you want to get your entry in, you still can by Friday, 3 p.m. Make sure you get it in by then, and then we'll do the voting on our Monday park and rec meeting. The Veterans Memorial has been decorated again.
Looks great.
Holidays. Thank you again to Lowe's for the new donations this year of more wreaths and more a few other things to get that all set up, especially with the new arbor and everything. We had to decorate that part as well. And happy holidays to everyone. Hope you have a safe one, and looking forward to 2023.
Great. I finally got the trailer full of packing party stuff out of my driveway a couple weeks ago.
Before we added to it.
Yes, we actually added to it, and the final total was 735 boxes. So there was a stall because we only could send 400 boxes out originally because we didn't have enough addresses, but we finally got the final addresses, and a few of us packed a couple more boxes up, 113 or so, and relabeled all the rest, and I dropped them off at the post office a couple Saturdays ago, so it was great. We're waiting for some answers to come back, but
I think they're starting to, Joanne said that she's starting to get a bunch of likes
yeah,
on Facebook page.
yeah, so that was turned out to be great.
Do you want me to comment on the reasons we did what we did?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Just so you're aware, we have a very large contingent of Michigan military reserve overseas right now. We can't even say where they're at. We had to keep so many things secret, but they are in a position that's very dangerous, is very desolate, and it is not a place we would want our relatives for the holidays. We did speak to a mom of a higher-ranking person who said they are starving to death for decent food. They didn't have decent food. And what we had in those boxes were a lot of candies, a lot of different things. We made the decision as Military Families United, and well, as soon as my wife found out, she made that decision for us. We went out and spent a couple more $1,000s on something like that, right around that? Yeah, on things like, it was
turkey, tuna fish.
yeah, protein stuffs, different things that they needed that was not just the candies and stuff that we sent them. We actually had to send them some substantial food because they can't get that kind of stuff out there. They were eating MREs for every meal. And to us, that just wasn't acceptable for us to do that. So we spent the extra money, and so we were sending packages and packages and packages or boxes of just the food for them. So I know my wife felt a lot better when she got back home. She quit crying for a while, so that was good. But for us to think about the sacrifices that they're making for us right now overseas with food that, you know, we would not want to eat, and that's what they're stuck with. So we wanted to make sure everybody knew this is something else above and beyond what we normally do, but it was well worth it. But that's the reason we were waiting. The reason we were waiting on the addresses for so long was because they were in a very remote area, and they would not release a lot of those addresses because it's a dangerous place. So just to give you an update.
Worked out well, though.
It actually worked out really well, because when we did get the addresses, we found out some of their needs, and we were able to fill that. So we're very happy about that. And thank you guys for helping and doing that. I know it was a great relief, because my wife had broke her foot in the meantime, so she couldn't really do a whole lot. So thank you to the Nedros for doing some shopping for us. So thank you. I'll go back. It's back to you now.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to finalize what the tally was on that anyways. And welcome back again, Pam. And thanks, Chief, for getting a great hire for the police department. Finally full on that front. I know we're going to be a little short the next couple months on that order too. But and I just want to mention that we probably had about 78 people show up for the appreciation dinner.
Yes.
Earlier this month.
Yes.
So that was a good turnout, and everybody had a good time, I think. Nice to kind of get together with everybody that's on the boards and commissions before the holidays. So finally, I guess I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and very safe and prosperous Happy New Year. Looking forward to 23. And we got a good team, got a great village, and a lot of good employees. So a lot to be thankful for. With that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremini. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.